Hello Year 4, it's Mrs. Please with your English lesson for Friday the 15th of January. So just to start off, well done for your excellent imitations of Escape from Pompeii. Thank you for sending those to us. It was really lovely to see your work. We're really impressed that you managed to imitate the story whilst adding some of your own ideas as well. Something we would like you to do is to go back and have a look at your punctuation, okay? I know it's difficult when you're writing or trying to think of all that lovely vocabulary and all the things you can include. You must remember to punctuate your work carefully, okay? So you might like to pause the video here, go back. If you've got a polishing pen, use that, or if you're at home, just use a crayon or whatever you've got, or a coloured pencil to go back and edit your work, just to add in that punctuation for us, okay? Okay, and reminder, our target is expanded noun phrases. So did you manage to use some in your writing yesterday? Have a think, have a look back, see if you used some expanded noun phrases yesterday. We're going to be using those again today. Okay, to get us thinking this morning then, because we are going to be focusing on vocabulary again today. So we want to think about rich language. And now I've got three descriptions here. And I want you to see if you can organise these into which description is good, which do you think is better, and which do you think is the best one, okay? Now, we might have different ideas on this, and that's okay, and we'll discuss that in a minute. If you're in school, you can discuss this with your talk partners and with Mrs. Chamberlain. If you're at home, talk to somebody with you, or just stop the video and think to yourself for a moment, okay? So we've got ruby red, red, and deep vermilion. So which of those descriptions do you think is good, which is better, and which is best? So take a moment to think here, and then we'll talk about our ideas. I hope you've had a chance to think about that and discuss that, and hopefully you pause the video there. So red is probably the one that I imagine most of us put as good. It's okay, it tells us what the colour is, but it doesn't really tell us much else, and it probably doesn't interest our reader that much. Okay, then we've got ruby red and deep vermilion. Now we might have different ideas on this. So for better, I imagine a lot of you put ruby red, and that's fine, I would agree. And I imagine a lot of you put deep vermilion for best. Okay, now deep vermilion is lovely, isn't it? It's really rich language. However, what I would just ask you to think about is, does everybody understand deep vermilion? So if you're going to use terms like deep vermilion in your writing, just think about who you're writing for. And if you're writing a story or something for children, just think whether they would understand that, okay? So sometimes the most fancy words aren't always the best, because it doesn't always mean that everybody can understand it, okay? Or means that sometimes people can't understand it. So ruby red actually could be the best one there, because if we're writing for children, then that might be a better way to describe something that everybody can understand. Okay, deep vermilion's lovely, and that's fine if you put it as best, but don't discount things like ruby red, because actually it helps people to understand as well. Right then, let's see what we're doing today. So we finished the innovation part of our story making, and so that means we're going to, we finished the imitation stage of our story making, and that's when you wrote your Escape from Pompeii text, you imitated it. So now we're moving into innovation. Now, innovation means we use what we've learned, we keep those ideas, but we try and add to them and innovate them and change them to make them better, okay? So if you're innovating, you're not just changing for the sake of it, you're trying to change to make things better. So let's think about what we could innovate. Here's a Year 4 target, okay? So in Year 4, we need to be able to describe settings, characters, plot, using a variety of adjectives. So settings, characters, and plot. So those are all things that we could innovate in our stories, okay? The setting would be where the story is set. Now, that's going to be tricky with Escape from Pompeii. It's going to be hard to change the setting when we're talking about Mount Vesuvius, but we'll look at that, because maybe we could find other mountains around the world, or volcanoes. Characters is one we can definitely innovate, and that's what we're going to be looking at today. And plot would be the storyline. So perhaps you didn't have a mountain or a volcano erupting, perhaps you had a tsunami wave coming to flood the town, or perhaps you had an earthquake or something different like that, okay? But today we're going to be focusing on the characters, okay? So our Walt is to innovate our story by using rich and varied language to create a new character. So innovating our story using rich and varied language to create a new character. So we've talked about rich language already. Let's have a think about our characters. So I'm going to play you a video now, and it's going to tell you a little bit more about story characters and how you can create your own characters, okay? So I'll just share that with you now. It's only a short clip, but watch carefully because it will help you to understand how you can create your own characters using your own ideas.
How to create a character. Every good story needs strong characters. You could write about characters you already know from books, films, or television, but it's much more fun to start with a blank slate. Then you are in charge of everything. You could start anywhere. Your character's name, their job, where they live. How about physical appearance? What do they look like? Firstly, is the character male or female? Let's make her a female. Should she be tall? Not that tall. That's better. And what if we give her biceps the size of footballs? Maybe your character has an unusual feature, such as a scar. Been done before. Or glasses. Been done before too. Don't just list their height, build and features. Use descriptive language, including plenty of adjectives, as this will really help bring your characters to life. Similes can help give the readers a clear image of your character too. What if she has cheekbones sharp as razors, and her black eyes are like a shark's? What is it that this character actually does? Maybe a ballet dancer? Not with muscles like those. I think she would make a great bank robber. Now, what a character wears can reflect what they get up to in your story. She's dressed from top to toe in stretchy black material that clings to her menacing muscles. But what do you think her name should be? Mrs. Wilson? Maybe that's too normal. She looks like she would have a more memorable name, like Helga van Schwarzenbrow. Perfect. And where would Helga hide out? Something doesn't seem quite right about this house. Think about how your setting can match your character. That's more like it. And let's think more about Helga's personality. What are her likes and dislikes? Maybe Helga has a passing interest in the arts. Maybe she has an unhealthy dislike for authority. Now you have your character. What happens next is up to you. All in all, I think it might be best for Helga to be behind bars. That's a relief. Ultimately, the reader should be able to close their eyes and imagine your character clearly. Oh, where did she go? And hang on, where's my wallet?
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that video. I really like the way it talked you through the different aspects of creating your own character and the different things you need to think about, okay? So instead of Tranio and Livia, how will you create one Roman character? Now we're just going to focus on one character because we want you to describe them really well. We'd rather focus on quality than quantity. So just focus on one character today. Don't worry about two, just one. Like we saw in that video, it's up to you to decide if you want them to be male or female, boy or girl. Think about what they might look like. Okay, now our story is set in Italy, isn't it? And quite a long time ago as well. Okay, so they're probably not going to be wearing jeans and jumpers and things. So think about the sort of things they might wear, what they might look like. What might they be like? So in that video, we saw him creating quite a menacing character, didn't we? Okay, so try and think what your character's qualities are. What are they like? And what were they up to on the morning that the mountain erupted, Mount Vesuvius erupted, the volcano? Okay, so think about what they were doing. In our Escape from Pompeii text, we had Tranio and Livia playing in the street, didn't we? Okay, but perhaps your character is not a child, perhaps they're an adult, so they probably wouldn't be playing in the street. So things you need to think about today. So first of all, let's think about life in ancient Rome then, in Italy. And we want to think about different types of characters that we might come across in ancient Rome. So have a look at the picture there. What sorts of characters can you see there? What sorts of different people can you see? Again, if you're with somebody in school or at home, you can chat to the people with you. If you're working on your own, that's fine. Pause the video and think for a moment or jot down some ideas in your exercise book. So what characters can you see there? What jobs are those people doing? Okay, so over here, we've got some soldiers, haven't we? And they're guarding this castle or this fort. There's a big wall there. Okay, so some soldiers there. We've got a young boy here with his mother. And they look quite wealthy, actually, don't they? Quite rich. She's got some sort of tiara on her head. Okay. We've got somebody over here. Now, he's got some cattle pulling his cart. So perhaps a farmer there. This person's carrying a heavy stone, so perhaps they're some sort of servant or slave. And this lady looks like she's selling something, doesn't she? So some sort of street seller, tradesperson selling something, okay? So some ideas there for different jobs that your character could do today. We're going to watch another video now. Now this video talks about different things. So you don't really need to focus too much on what's being said in the video, but what I want you to focus on is the images and what life was like in a busy town in Italy at that time, okay? So in ancient Roman times, think about what the city life was like and try and soak up the sort of atmosphere of the city streets, okay? We're just going to watch a moment or two, just a minute or so, I'll play the video for, just so you can get an idea of what life might have been like in busy Roman cities or busy ancient Roman cities, okay? Let me share that with you now.
With his family, the shops are open as the population goes about its business. The streets are full of itinerant traders selling trinkets and people bustling from place to place. Large wagons are not allowed in the city until after the 9th hour, but the streets are still crowded. Fathers and uncles take the kids to the Forum of Augustus to see statues of Rome's famous warriors. Like Aeneas, who led Rome's ancestors, the Trojans, to Italy, and Romulus, Rome's founder, and all the great generals of the Republic from more than 100 years earlier. Lovingly, we can imagine fathers and guardians with their now adult children remembering stories of Rome's glory and retelling the good deeds and sayings of the great men of the past.
Okay, I hope that gave you some ideas then of what life was like in the busy streets of ancient Rome. You saw the market stalls there selling different things, people bustling about. They wouldn't let carts into the streets because it was so busy with people trying to buy things and sell things, okay? And also people taking their children to see different aspects of the city like we would do today, okay? So that hopefully has given you an idea for the atmosphere of the place that your character might live. So this is how I'd like you to set your work out today. You've got date and underline, leave a line and then write your Walt and underline that for me. Then further down your page, I might move that down even if I can. So just put your person in the middle of the page. Now I've chosen a sort of adult male character here. He's dressed in some clothes appropriate to the time and place that he lives. So like we said earlier, think about what your character's wearing and put him in the middle of the page or her so that you can then add description around your character. Okay, now take care with your drawings. They are part of your English work. I know it feels like art, but we do want to see your ideas through your drawings, okay? So use colour pencils, anything you've got to decorate your person and show what they would have looked like and what they would have been wearing at the time, okay? So it's okay to take time with your drawing as well. Let's have a look at some names for our characters then. I know this is something that we can find tricky, particularly if we're trying to think of a name suitable for ancient Rome. We're obviously not going to have names that we might have today, okay? So here's some ideas for you really. So you can pick from these if you want or create your own name, but I wanted to give you some ideas so that you didn't spend too long trying to think of a name, because I know sometimes that can take us a long time. So for male names, I thought we might have Augustus, Felix, Maximus, Cicero, Julius, Titus, Albus, Caesar, Atticus, Romeo, or I've got Atticus again actually, sorry, I repeated that one there. Okay, so some male names. And female names, we've got Octavia, Valentina, Albina, Cassia, Antonia, Claudia, Cecilia, Camilla, Alba, Vita, and Tatiana. Okay, so some sort of classic Roman names there. So you might like to pick one of those for your character, or you might like to create your own, that's fine, but I wanted to give some examples so you don't waste too much time trying to think of a name. So now let's look at the description for our character. Now, to remind you, we are trying to use expanded noun phrases this term. That's our target. So I've tried to do that in the description of my character here. So I've got a male character. This character is actually looking a little bit scruffy, isn't he? So I think he was probably maybe one of the servants or tradesmen. I've put next to him, so you can write around him to put your description on, but what I would ask is that you write on the lines, okay? Although we're writing around and not writing in a paragraph today, do still try and write on the lines so that your work is neatly presented. So I've got sandy brown, comma, tousled hair. Tousled sort of means scruffy, wavy hair, okay? Don't forget your comma between your two adjectives. You're going to need a comma for your expanded noun phrase. And then I've got thin ruby red scarf, and I used a hyphen for ruby red as well to join those words together. So that's the way I've started mine. Your task is to describe your new character. Write straight on the line. Try not to use arrows, you don't need to. Just write around the character on the lines, okay? But remember, we're trying to use rich and varied language. So if you're at home or at school and you've got a thesaurus, it would be really nice to use those to help you find some synonyms for words. So perhaps you could look up thin and improve that, find a different word for that. Or you could look up tousled and see what that means, okay? And try and find some really rich language to use in your descriptions today. So hopefully a nice activity for you. Like I said, take care with your drawings to create your new character, either male or female, up to you. You can look back again on the video to pick a name for your character from the lists that I just shared, and then begin to add your own descriptions, okay? And just take care with your setting out for us today. Okay, I hope that's been really clear for you. So just a reminder, this is our date in Walt, and pop a learning pit for me underneath your work. Okay, so you can add a learning pit down here when you're finished. I'll look forward to seeing your new characters later, and this will start our innovation stage of our writing.